why Jim Cornette got fired from WWE/WWF. Now, Jim Cornette, as we know, has been fired from a lot of different companies. He was fired from TNA because he couldn't get along with Vince Russo. He was fired from NWA because he made a racist remark, which was really just flat out inaccurate. Because KFC isn't big in Africa. Actually, most of the black people I know like Church's chicken better. Now, KFC is big in Japan, so if he would have said it about Japanese people, if the guy can strap KFC on his back and go through Japan on a scooter and not get someone wanting it, yeah, that he could take care of himself. But in Africa, they would have probably left him alone. Unless it was fried ants or something. Then he might have got assaulted. So yeah. But why did he get fired from WWE where he worked for like 13 years? Actually, I think it was only like 12 years, 10 or 12 years. But here's the story. Jim Cornette left WCW in 90 or 91 because he was clashing with Jim Herd. And he went and created Smoky Mountain Wrestling. And he also joined WWF shortly after that. And Smoky Mountain Wrestling was focusing on the wrestling of yesterday. It was more a traditional style wrestling. And he also joined WWF shortly after that as a manager and behind the scenes as in creative. Smoky Mountain Wrestling didn't last that long. It only lasted 5 or 6 years. But in that time, he discovered talent like Kane, New Jack, Al Snow wrestled for him. You know, there are a lot of guys who wrestled for him before they made it big. And WWF set guys down there to work on their wrestling before they went to WWF. My throat's hurting because I'm shooting videos back to back. But after Smoky Mountain closed, he went to work full time as creative and manager and as a commentator and as someone who found talent. But in 99, he went and became co-owner of Ohio Valley Wrestling and head booker because he couldn't get along with Vince Russo. He actually wants to piss on Vince Russo's grave. Now, I don't want to piss on Vince Russo's grave. I want to piss on the other person's grave who they're probably going to charge $100 per person to piss on their grave. Because money's important to them. Okay, so he took over OVW. He was co-owner and booker of OVW. Now, he had no problem with WWF at first. No problem. Because Jim Ross was in charge of talent relations. But in 2004, John Laurinaitis, the woman molester and raper and we're going to pay you not to talk, John Laurinaitis took over as head of vice president of talent relations. And he hated John Laurinaitis because John Laurinaitis wouldn't talk to him before he did stuff. For example, Doug Basham. Doug Basham was a big-time heel in OVW, and they sent him up to WWE to see what they could do to try him out. Now, John Laurinaitis wanted to see what he looked like with his head shaved. So he shaved his head. He sent him back down to Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette left John Laurinaitis a voicemail cussing him and thanking him for doing this. Jim Cornette said on his show at one point that if he wanted Doug Basham's head shaved, to give him 2 weeks warning, and he would have shaved it in a hair match, which makes perfect wrestling sense. But why not just shave it willy-nilly? Why not shave all the wrestlers' heads? Why not shave Jim Cornette's head? It can be Bald Wrestling Alliance. But yeah, he did shit like that. So Jim Cornette hates John Laurinaitis, which John Laurinaitis is a piece of shit, as we know from the Vince McMahon scandal, which I need to make a second video of because we've learned even more about that. So the day came, and he was training a young Santino Marella. And he was also he was training the Boogeyman. And the Boogeyman's gimmick was supposed to debut. And as we all know, the Boogeyman's gimmick is comedy gold. But all the wrestlers are supposed to act fearful of him, which makes it even fucking funnier. Well, Santino Marella, who was training, was put in the audience and was supposed to act afraid. Well, Santino Marella, who was wrestling under some other name, did not act a fucking afraid. He laughed. I mean, he laughed the whole time. So when he got backstage, Jim Cornette lost it. He slapped him 10 to 15 times. Just went woo 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 boom 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 boom. Just slapped him as many times as he possibly could. Jim Cornette actually broke his hand slapping Santino Marella. That is not true, but he slapped him really. He really did slap him 10, 15 times. So Santino Marella, being the pussy boy he is, called up John Laurinaitis and said, Jim Cornette slapped me. I'm a baby. And so Jim Cornette got fired. Which Jim Cornette looks back on and is thankful for because he was completely burnt out at that point. But I agree with him slapping Santino Marella, maybe not 15 times, but in the sport they're in, you have to do what the booker or creative tells you to do, or else you're going to get fired. Or your tag team partner or the person in the ring tells you to do, or else you're going to get fired. And Santino Marella didn't do that, and Jim Cornette needed to correct the behavior. And slapping him was a good way to correct the behavior. I mean, Undertaker slapped Big Show at one point because he did something Undertaker told him not to do. And so he didn't slap him 15 times, though. So maybe 15 is an overkill. Maybe you only need to slap him 7. But Jim Cornette still hates Santino Marella. But then again, I hate Santino Marella because I turned off TV every time he came on TV with stupid comedy shit. Well, I'm cursing a lot in this video. I hope it doesn't rank as an adult video. If it does, then just the adults will watch it. But yeah. So that's how he got fired. Because he went to discipline a wrestler who needed to be disciplined. And maybe if someone would have kicked Santino in the butt, maybe he would have been less of a comedy joke wrestler. So, join me later in the week where we look at the Little Mermaid horror movie.